presentation. Okay, I'm sorry. Please continue.
Sorry. So yeah, so that's what it is. So I first with me, my colleague Scott Leary, so we can actually kind of tag team to kind of share with you guys what we've been observed. And we first saw this intersection when Ivy approached, asking us, it was like, why does only have a one stop sign at this location? It's a T intersection. Um, we did it, and so we first actually we conducted the traffic counts uh, right before the school start because we was told like this is they have a lot of pedestrians and that the school kids could use this as a route. And we also, while we're over there, it's a very nice restaurant over there, always have a line in the lunchtime, so again you generate some pedestrian activities there. The major movements from the observation and from the counts are the turning movements from the Riverdale Road to Lafayette northbound, both direction, which means right turn from the Riverdale Road to northbound Lafayette and from southbound Lafayette to Riverdale Road. They do have cars continue, straight on Riverdale, but compare the volume. This is the major movement. That's kind of like what we're thinking. Why originally the stop signs only placed on the northbound Lafayette Avenue, because the turning movement was actually the dominant movement at this location. Um, with the field, we also observed some of the signing, additional like a new sign you guys posted over there, um, and definitely kind of highlight the pedestrian activities at these locations. And also a sign kind of on this approach because they do not have a stop sign. And then kind of, you have a sign to say beware of the pedestrian crossing. Um, and we also did I think Scott did a crash review for how many years you did?
5.
5 years at this location. You want to share this crash data result we have?
Sure. There were, from the Maryland State Police database, there were 2 crashes recorded at the intersection. Both occurred in the middle of the night. Both were single vehicle crashes, and both involved intoxicated drivers. So not really contributory to assessing the total safety of the intersection.
Yes, we basically, and so we the original intent is we are asking for doing a stop sign study, which typically we review the volume of the vehicular traffic and the pedestrian volume. We also collected the pedestrian counts. We also we evaluated the safety aspect is the crash and the crash history at this location. But regardless that, we didn't notice, they also have a bus route, like a bus coming along using this intersection as, as a route. And then also you do have a lot of the, pedestrian, from the cross street and here or parking here, go around. So overall, I think I feel like first it does not really meet the full way 3-way always stop sign is this at this location. But we also notice when people approach this intersection from Riverdale Road, because it's a it's end of the road condition there, and and people tend to just slow down and stop because they're gonna make a turn. They know they cannot go straight fly through. um, and again, the crosswalk is more, it's a better visibility from this angle as well, knowing people, is kind of present there. So so our thought process then became like, what if we propose something like we are, instead of stop every movement when they approach, we actually provide additional stop sign on the southbound Lafayette. So basically on Lafayette Street, when the car approaches this intersection, they're gonna approach the stop condition. Um, also walked along Lafayette Street, it seems to be very similar as the pattern. Along Lafayette, all the rest of the intersection, they approach the stop sign. So when you come in the, Queensberry Lane, it's kind of like, you actually go to, if you go straight, you actually approach a stop conditions there. I think I missed some things, Scott.
No, I don't think you've missed anything. I could supplement with what the formal technical analysis looked like and why and
Yeah.
all. Stop signs, of course, have meaning. They're governed by about 7 pages of detail in both the federal and the Maryland Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And installing stop signs that do not control all approaches is actually a lot easier than justifying an all-way stop condition. The volumes, as we counted on a typical day, aren't there. And in no hour did enough vehicles enter the intersection to meet the average that would be required over 8 hours. So an always stop condition would not be appropriate based on the MUTCD. Again, we've got the crash data. Fortunately, that's non-contributory, and that's always a good finding, a fun finding. The terminated vista of westbound Riverdale Road definitely contributes to motorists slowing as they approach that. The presence of the pedestrian warning signs and the crosswalk contribute to that as well. Jalen, do you want me to go ahead and tell them what we're recommending?
I think one more thing before we go there. I remember what I forgot. One more thing before we go there is because as I mentioned earlier, the southbound turning to eastbound Riverdale Road is one of the main movement. So putting a stop condition over there. So we also did a traffic analysis to make sure there's not causing any additional queuing issues, to affect the Queensberry, Queensberry Road traffic all the way go down there. Which is aligned with the volume, with light, so it will not have that problem, because we definitely don't want to kind of resolve one problem and create another problem. So we are recommending or consider, yeah, Scott, you can actually work this way if you're gonna kind of go through this. So we are actually consider, like I said earlier, the stop sign here on Lafayette versus the always stop on 3 directions. You want to go to details?
Or so the stop sign with the stop line would be appropriate on southbound Lafayette, and that gives a motorist that extra second to observe if there is a pedestrian in the crosswalk, and that's the intent here. When you have a stop bar or stop line, you're supposed to have 100 feet of double yellow extending from it. So we've called for that to be improved. Your double yellow on Riverdale should be refurbished such that it's visible. That also can help slow the turning movements if they see a tighter receiving area. So it's a stop sign. The plaque beneath the stop sign, it reads "Traffic from left does not stop." It's just simply letting those on Lafayette know that anything that's coming off of Riverdale isn't stopping, whether it's a left or a right. I would suggest reorienting the pedestrian warning on the south side of the crosswalk a little bit more towards the railroad tracks. Because right now, yes, I understand why it was installed the way it was. However, right now it does absolutely nothing for northbound traffic who are making rights. I would just reorient that a little bit, but and remove the sign that has in text "Yield to pedestrians" on southbound Lafayette. That's about 80 75 to 90 feet north of the intersection, measured on center. Convert to a
Yeah.
continental crosswalk and consider this is a consideration. They're used as gateway treatments, but you could consider putting the stop for pedestrians pylons, particularly facing west. Again, just an attempt to ensure that motorists are moving as slowly as possible through the intersection and therefore giving a pedestrian as much time as possible. I think I got it all, Jalen.
Yes, I think so.
Are you ready for questions at this juncture?
Yes, we want to select the feedback or questions because something we may not consider.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
So did you look at, the town has been working on daylighting intersections, and that may not be one of your official recommendations, but I guess I would recommend that the city paint yellow curbs to preserve the sight line there at the intersection, because I know there are a lot of people who are fighting for parking there along Riverdale Road.
Madam Chair, if I may, we did talk about that because routinely there's a car parked very close to the corner on the north side of the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even
so,
beyond that sign on occasion.
So there's a sign there. We can do okay, that's actually part of where we're gonna put the stop bar on this direction as well to make sure they have enough sign line that for people to see, and then car not parking here. Or I think on the other job Ivy we did was we may if this is not enough, we make him move it a little bit behind, or if it's good enough, then can leave there. Yes, so currently there's a sign. Yeah, I believe they put there for some for a reason, but of course if when the time we put a stop bar, it's kind of like we have to evaluate the side distance.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't mean to move.
Madam Chair, it appears Dan has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan. Just speak up like I do.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the presentation and information. And I agree with Melissa. I think with 250 barbecue becoming quite popular, there are times where folks are parked in that do not park area. And so when you reevaluate that, again, I would like to see more consistent yellow curbing as well. And then also I've started to notice a lot of people actually parking around the corner. And I know there's a distance from the intersection they shouldn't be parking, but maybe extend that yellow curbing around the corner as well. Yeah, so there'll be 2 cars parked in this area right along the road here as well, pretty regularly. And then the one other thing, I like the suggestion, I think it was said as optional for the pylon. One thing that I observe pretty regularly, and I don't know if you notice this too, but drivers that are traveling southbound on Lafayette that make a left onto Riverdale Road almost never maintain their lane. They're usually, because it's like a 40-foot long crosswalk there, they're usually driving east in the westbound lane, at least until, they get past that first Sharrow in the road or whatever. So I think the pylon would potentially help with that, right? People actually making a left and staying in the lane they're supposed to be in.
Yes, that would be the intent. It is
Okay.
fair to warn you that some of these pylons that I've seen in other jurisdictions have had very, very short lifespans.
Yeah. They get
I imagine it will get run over regularly.
Yeah, so I think the other thing is if the currently yellow line is a little faded, or it's kind of faded.
Yeah.
So that's actually another thing, if because if that, then from that angle you not be able to see it, and people tend to turn as whatever they're comfortable instead of turning lane. And then we know why this side of the because the parking is more wider than the other side.
Yeah.
So for add both, which is repainting the yellow line and then add in the middle, they should help, at least to give people the, the direct, orientate them to go to that side of the street.
And if I may, we will be refurbishing the double lines on Riverdale Road as a part of this project, part of the road improvement projects, that is. If not all of it, at least the first 200 feet,
Yeah.
as well as this crosswalk. Any other questions for Jalen or Scott?
I have one kind of would something like flex posts extending out from where the sign indicating to not park past this point, just enough to prevent people from parking there to maintain that sight line without it obstructing the ability to turn.
We could also stripe it, which we're doing in other locations.
Mm-hmm.
I would, given what I observed, and Jalen, tell me if you disagree, we haven't discussed this. Given what I observed, I would not suggest flex posts because they're going to have the same lifespan as others in this case because of the westbound to northbound movement of buses.
Mm.
Mm. I think, Ivy, in the other locations, we also tend to do markings.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The site triangle, yes, we have in
Mhm.
Myrtle Park Station, and you've identified or at least recommended another location for striping there.
Yeah.
So that's been our approach lately, and it makes sense to do that here as well.
And I'm sorry, I glanced at it, but I didn't quite catch everything. But on the diagram, is that, does that curb need the, I forget what they're called, the tactile indicators or whatever,
Tactile warnings.
tactile
Oh,
warning?
you mean the detector, the serve like this?
Yeah, on the other side, it looks like there aren't any. Is that?
That this side doesn't look like they have.
Oh.
But is evaluating those curb ramps for ADA compliance part of what we're looking at, or we're looking at simpler fixes?
I don't know if it was included as a part of the study. We can look at that, I guess, from this point forward.
That'd be good.
Yeah, we haven't added this project to the list of projects. You'll see that a little later on, but we certainly intend to. And so we can add other improvements at this location that are needed at this time.
Okay. Without any comments, thank you so much for
Yeah, thank you.
presentation and the work you've put into this, and recommendations.
No, I don't know.
I believe, if I may, Madam Chair, I believe we have to go to council to get authorization to install a stop sign, if they also agree that it makes sense to add a new traffic control at that location. So I don't know, Jessica, if we could do it in August or September, but ultimately we'll need their approval. I don't think we can justify exigent circumstance, which would allow DPW to install the sign and have the council ratify that decision afterwards.
So do we need to make some sort of take some sort of action to make a suggestion or recommendation at this point to council to consider that? Is that?
I certainly would hope so.
Okay, I mean, I would move that we, relay the engineers' suggestions, including the pylon and adding yellow curbing and some other comments that were added tonight to council for implementation.
Yeah, I'll second.
So are you saying you would prefer the flex post other than striping the site distance triangle?
I was talking about that R61A pylon that was
Oh, okay.
optional in the
Gotcha.
middle of the intersection, but I'm open to suggestions. I thought Daniel's suggestion was fine, but it sounded like that might be with the bus turning there might not be as feasible is what I understood for the curbing.
And I can certainly include this recommendation to paint it as indicated to be no parking in addition to the yellow paint.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That would be consistent with what we're doing in other locations.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much.
Oh, all right.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. You're welcome to stay. It's the same.
I got cookies to bake, so I'll see y'all later.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Jalen.
Madam Chair, you did not take a vote. I assume it was all in favor.
Oh. Anybody opposed?
Nope.
Seems that we are all in favor. Do we actually have enough to have a quorum though? Did we decide that?
I think
thought
we
we-
do. Now that we have Mayor Yang here, so I believe we do.
We have 4 of 8, right? So that's a fair
Well, we have,
majority.
I think 5 now, right? So
Does quorum include non-voting members?
Opposed? No offense, Mayor, but I was wondering if you count.
And I don't know if I do.
well, and we also have a vacancy on the committee too. So right now we would have 4 out of our 8 members, and one of which is not a voting member. So
So
I
4
think
of
we could-
7, that's for voting members.
Yeah,
Well,
it would be quorum of like active members, right? So if there's a vacancy, then there's only 7 members, and so you definitely would have a majority of the 7. So probably good.
yeah.
I'll allow it.
I think this is a something that obviously the staff have had the engineers weigh in on, and so we could certainly take that to council with the support of the Walk Bike Drive Advisory Committee.
I agree.
so did we move an item up from, or did we just move the Panoni up? Was there
We
another?
essentially added a new agenda item with the last presentation.
Okay,
So we're ready to move into the update on Safe Streets for All.
yes.
Okay, as you know, the town received a Safe Streets for All, actually Safe Streets and Roads for All grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation for $768,000, and with the required match of $192,000, the program budget is $960,000. There are essentially 3 program components or obligations that have to be met. One is to prepare a supplemental plan as part of the town's application. The council adopted Prince George's County's Vision Zero plan. The supplemental plan will focus on the town's priorities under Safe Streets for All. The second component or obligation is to identify and install demonstration or quick build projects. And the third is to evaluate the impact of those projects to determine the long-term feasibility, their long-term feasibility to improve safety. The town hired Wood Valley Strategies to prepare the supplemental plan. We don't anticipate it being more than 25 or 30 pages. We're also relying on this consultant to guide us through the compliance process. We recently carried out several outreach and engagement activities in different parts of the town. We had a pop-up in the town center and Riverdale Park Station, where we solicited information on areas perceived as unsafe for walking, biking, and driving, and any potential solutions that residents had thought of or considered as their concerns have grown over time. Our pop-up, unfortunately planned in the multifamily community, was rained out and will need to be rescheduled. And we hope to complete that within the next couple of weeks. The project team also conducted interviews at bus stops along Kenilworth Avenue and Baltimore Avenue at 7 o'clock in the morning to catch those commuters, at a bus stop where they in fact may not feel safe given the narrowness of sidewalks in both areas. We had an in-person meeting this week with residents in the Casada Quintana Patterson. Member Daniel and his wife was in attendance. Unfortunately, turnout was very low. There were two couples. The second couple had been in the community quite a long time. So with Daniel and his wife and the other couple, we actually got a lot of good information, though we only had 4 residents in total attend the meeting. We are consolidating the notes and will prepare a simple report that we can share with council as we seek to move into the next phase of the project. We did develop a survey that we hope to post on the town's website to give residents another way to provide some input. We are planning additional outreach and engagement activities, as well as participation in 2 upcoming community events, including National Night Out on August 5th and the Back to School Safety Walk on August 23rd. The input that we've collected in all of these venues will assist in identifying the quick build projects. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have. I guess I should mention that we expect to complete the supplemental plan before the end of the year. And that would have to be adopted by the council. Any questions on Safe Streets for All?
I raised my hand, but I'll jump in since Melissa said to jump in. Thank you, Ivy, for our Director Lewis for the presentation, and glad to hear things are moving along. The just so I understand, so the supplemental plan will be kind of like the town's action plan for Vision Zero, like when it culminates. And will there be a lot of times with these plans, there'll be kind of a draft that will be shared, and then they'll solicit additional public feedback, and then a final? Is that kind of what to anticipate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It'll be a rough draft to begin with that we might share with the community for input, and then take the revised to the council for input.
Excellent. Okay. All right.
So we'll certainly bring it to this committee.
Awesome. And the anticipated draft is sometime by the end of the year, like December timeframe, is that?
So we should have a draft by early November.
Okay.
And hopefully to have a final one before the end of the year. We don't want to spend a lot of time on the supplemental plan. We want to focus our time and the resources allocated to the quick build project and evaluating their effectiveness. And I think initially one way to do that is to seek input from residents on whether or not they feel safer in these areas as a result of those improvements. Because it could be 6 months, a year. I mean, where do we draw the line as to whether or not that improvement or that quick build was in fact effective? I think measuring resident perceptions would give us some information on that.
No, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of prior recommendations, and I think just having them all compiled in an action plan would be helpful, but I do think the quick build projects will be the most helpful as far as just immediate impact. So I agree with that. And then is there any concern? I just know with a lot of the uncertainty at the federal level, is there an urgency to get stuff done and obligated, or is it just anything?
I think these funds are secure. We were
Okay.
overly optimistic, thinking that we were ready to apply for implementation money. That grant application came out earlier this year, and I think we're beyond the deadline now. We weren't far enough along, obviously, to apply, and we don't expect that there's going to be money at the back end of our process. So we'll have a lot of good information. We do have the Walk Bike Drive capital improvement project, so there's some additional funding, and we expect that project will continue to receive funding annually so that we could carry out some of these recommendations or make permanent improvements out of the quick builds.
Okay. All right. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Ivy is fine.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, but what's the threshold for what's considered a quick build? Like, how big is it before it's too big for it to be considered a quick build?
You know, I don't know that we have any guidance on that. We would look to Wood Valley, our consultant, with that question. But it's really those things that we think will make a difference in those areas that folks feel unsafe. And so to mind, we have, I think, about 350,000 for quick builds. We may decide to install permanent improvement using another source of funds, if we're certain that improvement will make a difference in that location in terms of safety.
Okay. And I've heard positive feedback from folks who've attended the pop-ups and other people who were upset that they didn't know about it. And so I don't know if the plan is to be a little more catch people organically in how they are and where they are, or if it's I think there's opportunities where we can probably make a big hay about it and really sort of have people come out. And so just, happy to think through what makes the most sense, if it's trying to get people who are already using or in particular areas, or make it more of a spectacle so that folks come out and try to get feedback.
Probably a little bit of both. What we were trying to do initially was to focus in on sub areas and sort of speak the language and make sure we have, literally in our multi-family Latino communities, and just hearing from folks in their respective areas of town. We may go back in those communities with recommendations, with a conversation around recommendations for quick build projects and get some early input on that. But I like the idea of making a splash out of the plan being done, and what long-term and permanent improvements, long-term recommendation and permanent improvements that we're recommending in the plan.
Thank you.
We're open to other ideas about how we can bring more attention to this during the planning and when we have a final plan document or a draft plan document for community input.
If I may, that is something I wanted to ask after leaving our meeting of the night. Thank you so much for doing that. It was great. But it was a very limited scope. You talked about multi-generational, predominantly Spanish-speaking households in this neighborhood. Especially, I feel like you're not getting enough of that input possibly. I'm wondering what action plans there are to get more of that input, especially after these quick builds are put into place, to see how they feel it is aiding or limiting, or things of that nature.
So again, our plan for the multifamily areas east of the river was to do a pop-up, to have staff stationed at the corner of 54th and Riverdale Road under a tent with some information, some giveaways, and then have staff walking through the community at the same time, asking residents questions about areas where they might feel unsafe. So we didn't get a chance to do that. It was a horrible rainstorm on the night it was scheduled, and we weren't able to schedule it, come up with another date. We actually had Laverne Peaks, who is remote in Ohio, in town, and we couldn't reschedule that activity before she had to leave. So those of us in town will schedule that, carry it out again, and walk the streets. They did complete the bus stop interviews on Kenilworth. That information is still being compiled. So there might be information in that that what we collected that will give us some insight in terms of quick builds. I will say there's a lot of conversation among the small planning group, and we're going to expand that, bringing in other staff from other departments, that we really need to sort of focus on Kenilworth Avenue. A requirement of the Safe Streets for All program is that we created a high injury network map. Most of our fatalities and major injuries are on state roads. Clearly, there are other locations in town, Riverdale Road and Taylor, where the children were killed, but there are other locations within town where there were serious injuries. However, most of them are on state roads. We have long blocks on Kenilworth. Folks are gonna cross mid-block. How open will the state be to mid-block traffic signal for the purpose of pedestrian crossing or increasing the crossing time at the intersections along Kenilworth, where the shopping centers are. and to make the median more friendly. I think the objective was to make it unfriendly so residents won't venture to cross mid-block, but they're crossing mid-block. And they're having to scale the top of this sort of pyramidal or truncated pyramid with a stroller and everybody else. And so I think Dan mentioned to this group, and I haven't gotten additional information on it, the state's decision to do a pedestrian plan for Kenilworth Avenue. So we're hoping they'll get to the same conclusion that we need to do something else there. The priority can't be the commuters that are driving throughout town. We have to take into account the safe circulation by all residents from their residence to the commercial centers across the street or across Kenilworth Avenue.
If I may, because we did talk about that the other night. I know that's not the intent of this meeting, but the mid-block crossing I think is great and will add a lot of value to the people who are predominantly using that, whether they're supposed to or not. But I think it would be imperative that it is used in tandem with other traffic calming devices or dissuasions like a speed camera or something like that. As somebody who uses mid-block crossing like flashers as a cyclist in other parts of PG County, rarely do people stop as often as you would like them to or as quickly as you would like them to. So I would hope that there'd be other measures there as well to kind of ensure that people get, if they're speeding through there, they're likely to get more likely to get ticketed or something like that, to make sure that they are more incentivized to stop at those mid-block crossings.
I agree.
I'm sorry to take a second round, but just a couple of things that were mentioned jogged my memory, and I think I mentioned to you, Ivy, before that I had the chance to participate in a couple of meetings with MDOT/SHA around other bike and pedestrian issues, and they've highlighted several times that they are generally looking forward to working with communities that got SS4A grants to help implement improvements. And so this seems like a pretty unique opportunity to potentially do something on state roads that we don't usually get to have too much influence in. Joe Mogues was the chief safety officer who had mentioned that a few times, and I know he's moved on to a different position, but I think at meetings even after he left, they've echoed that again. And they've given like Bel Air, Maryland, and a few other communities as examples. And they said, as far as quick build, they actually implemented things in a matter of months, not years, which is quite quick by those standards. And then as far as the pedestrian safety action plan, my understanding is they've collected some preliminary feedback, and that's in round 2. And these again by MDOT/SHA standards are supposed to be quicker build projects, but I think it's a 3 to 5 year process, not a next year thing. And since it's round 2, that might be 2030 before they actually implement some of that. But from the earlier plans that they've released, they have been very, I would say, aggressive at trying to make actual substantial improvements within kind of the bounds of not having to move utilities and other things that add cost. So it does seem like a really good opportunity to maybe reach out to them and see if there are opportunities to do things on Kenilworth Avenue or other state highways intersecting.
Okay. I may follow up with you for the point of contact at SHA on that.
I will make a note and try to send you a couple of notes as far as who I think may be able to point you in the right direction.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
And Ivy, I'm going to put on my work hat for just a second, and I'll take it right back off. When they get ready to work on designs, if they're doing bump outs of any kind, I'd really like to have conversation with you or them. I've been proactively nagging at everyone I can who gets quick build projects about some particular issues.
Okay. Certainly, if this committee has his ideas already for quick builds, please feel free to share them. You can email me directly or Jessica, because we're starting to compile a list based on some of the input we've gotten.
And Ivy, can you remind us how much money was set aside for the quick build portion?
I think about 350,000.
Okay.
325 or 350.
Okay, thank you.
And we had within our application an intention to do 30 between Riverdale Park and Edmonston. And most of them obviously would be in Riverdale Park. Any other comments or questions about safe streets and roads for all?
I do have a question about, because you brought up how this is the budget for this is in tandem with Edmonston. Who is responsible for pathing like the branch trail that specifically that connects from Edmonston to uh Riverdale? Like generally where's that jurisdiction lie?
For the bike path
Yeah, the pedestrian and biking path.
that crosses Riverdale Road,
Yes.
that would be Maryland National Capital Park and Planning.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, there's a new bridge as of a month or so ago, north of Riverdale Road. It was closed for a while and now they've replaced it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if other committee members were aware of that. It happened really quickly. We thought there's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of upset residents and motorists, and it happened without incident.
Ivy, I'd just like to thank you and others that are working on this because I know federal grants are a lot of work and I know it takes a lot of staff time. So I really appreciate you continuing to drive these forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll pass that on to Laverne because she's sort of making sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Okay.
Our next item is an overview of the upcoming road improvement projects. Street and sidewalk.
Jessica, could you pull up? I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
No, you're good.
Okay, if you could pull up the map initially. So the road projects are about to get underway. We've assigned the work to one of the town's on-call construction companies, ENR Services Incorporated. We expect the work to begin in early August and be completed by the end of the calendar year, likely earlier. The projects, as the map illustrates, are distributed throughout the town. There are 30 projects on the list currently. We are continuing to do some follow-up and additional and identifying additional potential projects because the estimate from our on-call construction company came in quite a bit lower than the engineer's estimate. So it looks like we could do a lot more. And then there's a list of additional projects being designed and under consideration. Again, there are 30 projects on the list currently and categorically. There are 2 road resurfacing projects on 48th and 49th between Queensberry and 410. We have 2 sinkholes in town that will be repaired as a part of the project. One is on 54th north of Riverdale Road and the other is on Oglethorpe west of Taylor Road. There'll be a number of new speed humps. We're also doing raised intersections and crosswalks. Probably more than residents might be willing to suffer through, but they certainly are effective in slowing down traffic. We've identified a number of locations for new curb ramps, 2 locations for sidewalks, 51st Avenue. Between Rittenhouse and Tuckerman and Bill Circle West. There are sidewalks, partial sidewalks on Bill Circle West. We hope to complete that sidewalk system or plan to as a part of this project. And then of course there's a numerous sightline distance improvements or triangles that are going to be striped throughout town, including within Riverdale Park Station. The engineers on their own identified the need to hatch a sight triangle on eastbound Woodbury Road at Rhode Island Avenue. So we're going to lose 2 spaces on Woodyard Road close to Rhode Island Avenue. It'll be safer. We got a lot of complaints from residents moving around in the community that they've almost been hit at that location. Several additional projects are under consideration. Sidewalk repair on Cleveland Avenue, stop sign at southbound, which we heard about tonight, Lafayette at Riverdale Road, and then the double yellow lines 100 feet from the stop line at Lafayette, north and south of Riverdale Road, and then raised crossings on Riverdale Road from Kenilworth to Lafayette as recommended by the committee. And with that, I'll take questions.
So the $350,000 we had to make recommendations for its use, is that being incorporated into the CIP projects, or is it?
Are you referring to the funding for quick bills or the walk, bike, drive capital improvement program budget?
Walk, bike, drive budget.
So we have streets and sidewalks CIP projects, and we have a separate one for curb ramps. And so we'll be using those funds initially. For the Riverdale Road raised crosswalks and intersections, we'll probably use walk, bike, drive funds. Any other questions or comments? You'll notice that we have the fewest number of road resurfacing projects. We did most of that over the last 3 years. So we're really talking about adding crosswalks and curb ramps where they're currently are missing in order to increase safety in those areas. And we're scratching the surface in this round of projects, but we will continue to do more curb ramps, crosswalks, raised intersection, raised crosswalks throughout the community as funding becomes available over the next several years. But we're going to make a good start this time around.
So are you evaluating curb ramps as you do other crosswalk improvements? Like
Yes.
And
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Good answer.
I'm excited about some of the items on this list and appreciate the fact that both you're trying to do a lot and then also there's an opportunity to do a bit more based on estimates versus what things are actually going to cost. As far as just roll out with this stuff, does it just happen as the engineers kind of do a certain set of them and then they move forward to implementation, or timeline wise, like what's the process? Will we just eventually see like a raised crosswalk, or I guess I'm not.
So we used an application called Robotics about 3 years ago to complete a town-wide road assessment. And we've been working on the results of that since then.
Okay.
And so we'll identify a list of projects for the upcoming year. The engineer will engineer all of them at one time, and then we'll assign them to, at this juncture, an on-call construction company. And so everything is done at once. Because a lot more information came in through our safety email and from these committee meetings, we've added on to that list beyond the work that the engineers had already started and to a large degree completed. So now they're trying to complete the design specifications for those additional projects. And they all will be added to the contractor's task order.
Okay.
But this first list above the additional projects has been costed out by the contractor, and we're just waiting to get a date for the pre-construction meetings.
Okay. All right. So these will get built in the near future.
Yes, they will get started. We expect them to start early August.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for answering my unclear question, but you did answer what I guess I was asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what was included in the road assessment that the robotics did?
So we looked at sort of pavement conditions, the condition of curb. So we collected the data on a cell phone, downloaded robotics, or at least our engineers did. And so they were riding around and collecting data every 10 feet on road conditions, curb ramps, and then they were sort of eyeballing what else was happening or what the other conditions were, sidewalks, curb ramps and those kinds of things. So the software allowed us to collect some basic data, and then they did some follow-up field inspections over the last 3 years.
Okay.
Mhm. And unfortunately, we just learned that robotics has closed its operations, and even the county were using this software. So we're going to work with Panoni to identify another application that would serve us as well.
I might know some, but
Okay. But we have done, the only road upgrade we have not done is Maryland Avenue, north of Queensberry. Yeah.
okay.
Any other comments or questions on the upcoming road projects? And we could brief you along the way at future committee meetings in terms of our progress.
That would be great.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you.
So we move on to agenda item 4. We get an update on the automated enforcement programs, please.
Yes, good evening. I'm Chief Turner for those that don't know me. Tonight I'll be providing an overview of the town's current automated enforcement and then potential new types of automated enforcement. If you could change to the next slide, please. Currently, as most of you know, the town operates speed cameras at 5 locations: East West Highway at Taylor Road, the 5,000 block of Riverdale Road, the 5700 block of Taylor Road, and the 6,000 block of Good Luck Road, as well as the 5700 block of River Tech Court. In September of 2024, we switched to residential enforcement on all of those camera sites except for River Tech Court, which means the other 4 locations are operated 24/7, 365 days a year. As you can see, the average number of speed camera violations across the 10 cameras at the 5 locations averages of 187 violations daily, 5,700 violations monthly, and 68,000 violations yearly. Since we've switched to the residential enforcement, we've seen about a 20,000 citation increase in the past 10 months. So if you could switch to the next slide, please. So currently we are operating red light enforcement, which just went live on July 1st. And we're at 2 locations: at Queensberry Road at Baltimore Avenue and East West Highway at Taylor Road. This process with SHA and Pepco took well over a year to stand up these 2 sites. But I'm happy to say they were working. A little surprised at the number of violations that we've seen in the first 2.5 to 3 weeks. We're well over 600 citations between the two locations. With some of those videos, the violations are pretty egregious. The light being red and not even slowing down, speeding through a solid red signal. So we thoroughly expect that probably in 3 months, once the citations are mailed out and the fines start coming in, that we'll see a decrease in these violations. When I say 600 violations, I don't mean that everybody is driving straight through a red light. What we're seeing is a high volume of people that are making a right on a red without coming to a stop, which is clearly dangerous for pedestrians crossing at crosswalks opposite of when you're making the right-hand turn. So if we could switch to actually, we are looking at additional locations for stop sign or red light cameras as well. I apologize for that. A couple of locations that we looked at are obviously along Kenworth Avenue, which are in the purple line construction zone. So SHA will not allow that until the road improvements are completed. But we are currently doing a traffic study at East West Highway and Baltimore Avenue for a potential location for a red light camera. Now you can switch to the next slide, please. So recently the town partnered with Avio and conducted a pilot study of stop sign camera locations in the town. So as everyone on the call, I'm sure, is not surprised that we have a issue with people not stopping at stop signs in the town of Riverdale Park. We were pretty surprised about how high the numbers were. If you switch to the next slide, please, and it'll show. So on an average daily, we had 306 high danger violations, which is barely touching the brake at a stop sign, which is not yielding to someone coming the other direction or pedestrian or a bicycle. We had 1,427 medium danger violations per day, which is slowing down but not stopping, just rolling through the stop sign. The low danger violations, which probably would not generate a citation, or it's almost stopping, but it's still it has the potential, right? It's not there for, if we were sitting there operating a police car, it's probably not something we'd issue a citation for, but we'd probably issue a warning. So I do know that we went before the council and presented this information, and it was received pretty positive. And I believe we're going back in September with a draft legislation, and hopefully if everything works through, and we'll have a community meeting as well, a public meeting. And if the process goes well and it's approved through the council, it'll probably be late December, early January before we were operating, because there's a process we have for approval process through the county that takes approximately 4 to 8 weeks. So if we get that far, just giving some type of outlook on what we may see come the first of the year. So that concludes my update on what we have for automated enforcement this time, but if I'll take any questions that you may have.
Yeah, Chief Turner, I had a question. If we could go back to the locations of the pilots,
Sure.
and I apologize if I missed this. How are those chosen again?
They were chosen predominantly by accident data, as well as complaints from residents of stop sign violations, and obviously observations from officers, right, from our traffic stop data as well. But we try to spread it out throughout the town, and obviously when we do, or if we do elect to have stop sign camera locations, they have to be in school zones per law. Predominantly, most of the town is in school zones, but obviously with the tragic accident we had, we wanted to focus along Riverdale Elementary and College Park Academy as well.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Chief Turner, thanks for all of the information and pursuing these programs. I think automated enforcement is a very helpful tool, and I'm glad the town's pursuing it. With regard to the stop sign cameras, when we move from a pilot to actual implementation, is there a limit on the number that the town can install? Is the pilot kind of reflect the number that we're planning to install, or is it going to be fewer cameras?
I don't think we're there yet. There is no limit, right? So
Okay.
when we apply, if we apply for with the county, we can provide every intersection with a stop sign that we have. So that way, let's say we start with 8 locations. If we decide to expand, we don't have to go back in the approval process again. We can just install a new camera. Obviously there's a financial obligation to each one. So, but I don't think that we could put a camera up at one of our stop signs and it would lose money.
Okay.
But I didn't say this, but I meant to. Other municipalities, stop sign cameras work a little different than speed cameras. They're seeing a significant reduction in citations like 3 months into their program. Obviously they're in neighborhoods, and a lot of the traffic is from the neighborhood, or even if it's cut through traffic going to work, you cut the same road every day. So I think we see less recidivism with stop sign cameras.
No, I imagine once people start getting citations, they'll change their behavior going through those intersections pretty quickly. So that makes sense.
And that's the plan. That's the hope.
Yeah. Jumping to the red light cameras, I did see the one that was installed at the intersection of Queensberry and Baltimore Avenue. And that seemed like a really good location because there is, in addition to people running the red lights and rolling right on red against pedestrians in the crosswalks, there's also a lot of people that end up blocking that intersection through. And I was curious, I couldn't tell from the angles, but is it focused on Queensbury east-west, or will it also capture traffic that's going north-south on Baltimore Avenue?
So that camera track captures 3 westbound lanes of Queensbury there because there's a designated left turn straight and a designated right turn. And when we did the traffic study, that was the highest number of violations. People are
Okay.
really trying to beat that light so they don't have to wait. And unfortunately, I couldn't share any of the videos tonight, but as you can imagine, we've had some pretty close calls there with pedestrians and motor vehicle accidents on camera already.
Okay. All right. No, that's helpful. I just couldn't, I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And then the last question I have is just around, I imagine there might be some backlash from folks when they start getting citations for the stop signs cameras. Is there going to be any efforts around educating people just, what the stop bar is, where to stop? It seems like in other communities, once people start getting citations, people start getting pretty angry, even though I think most people overwhelmingly support people stopping at stop signs.
No, absolutely. There'll be advertisement like we do with any of our automated enforcement in the newspaper, on our website as well, with the law explaining to everyone. I mean, I think when you get your driver's license, I mean, you should know a stop is when you come to a rest, right? And if the wheels don't stop, it's not a full stop. So, but of course, absolutely, we're there to get compliance. That's our goal.
Well, thank you again.
No problem. Anytime.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to those reductions in violations because they're pretty bad.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and our 5th agenda item is Natoli Place at Lafayette Avenue. Or 4th, maybe. I'm trying to take notes. So our next agenda item.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to be with you all again. We continue working towards getting a recommendation to the town council, and we're hoping to do that here in August. So tonight, what we're doing is giving you kind of a sneak peek of what we're planning to recommend so that I can get your feedback and be able to have the best presentation of the town council that we can. So I have a short PowerPoint here that I'll go through quickly because I know you have a long agenda. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
No.
There we go. Thank you.
Very good. Oh, okay. So tonight we're making showing you the recommendations that we want to make. Sorry about that. Okay. So the process that we used was that we began the project last fall. We collected the data. We heard the concerns and the problems that were prevalent in the community about these 2 projects. In earlier this year, we had extensive public input on just hearing from people what they wanted to see. We had town council meeting, we had a public meeting. We received over 23 emails from the community. We met with you all. Then we generated the concepts, and then we had public input on those concepts. That occurred in May and June. We had another town council meeting, a public meeting, received about a dozen emails from the community, attended outreach at the farmers market one Thursday, trolley trail days, met with affected business owners. So I think we've done quite a bit of public outreach for these projects. Then we working right now to refine and make a recommended concept with the goal here in red of taking the design concepts to the town council in August for hopeful approval. If that happens, then we would be able to hire the design consultant and begin the construction drawings. So the town center, the goals, you've seen these all before. A lot of us centered around safety. Minimizing the traffic conflicts on Queensbury Road was something I heard a lot about. Making the trolley trail have a more channelized flow through the area of the town center. Channelizing and separating Maryland Avenue. Minimizing the parking loss is something I heard a lot. Being able to continue to facilitate the farmers market and other public events, allow for business deliveries, and just making the whole area look a little more pleasing and have a nice open space that we can use for lots of different things. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about, though, is what we found of how the parking is utilized in the town center. So these two graphs are data that we collected. The first was on a Wednesday in March on the 19th. We heard people say, well, you need to do it when the weather's nicer and get more information that way. So we did another one on a Friday in June 20th, and the information is tallied here. Basically, the peak occupancy at any time during those 2 days was 72%, about 56 spaces, and that was on June 20th. So 22 spaces were empty at the peak time. 22 spaces. So remember that number because we're going to discuss that in a little bit. 8 spaces were never used. There was a total of 183 total parking events. Now this is of the 78 spaces in the town center. The note at the bottom basically is saying that those 78 spaces doesn't include the CSX lot on the east side of the tracks. It doesn't include spaces under 410. It doesn't include the curbside spaces on Rhode Island that are just a few footsteps away. So this is just the ones in the town center. The other thing we found is that particularly on the June 20th figure, that 27 spaces were occupied by the same car for 4.5 hours or longer, and a lot of them were like 6.5 hours, 7 hours. So if you discount all the, well, I'm going to call the all-day parkers, the maximum occupancy of the lot by short-term customers, we'll call them, was only 29. What that suggests to me is that in the future, 2-hour parking should be considered for the town center. We're not making that recommendation now, but I think it may be worth thinking about. So I just wanted to share that because as we talk about the proposed recommendation, how much parking is lost is on everyone's mind. So here are the concepts. I'm sure you've seen them all. All of you have seen these many times. And the public input on these basically was as far as which one they preferred. There was a slight majority on concept 2. The rest of them were on some variation of concept 3, and almost no love at all for concept 1. So predominantly between these two. But our recommendation is going to be concept 2. And the things that we really like about that, I have on the next slide here, but I'm going to share them with you as you're looking at the drawing. So in this concept, excuse me, we have a net loss of only 14 parking spaces. And remember the 22 number from before. So we're less than that. However, if we make Rhode Island Avenue one-way northbound, we could add about 8 parking spaces on Rhode Island. And the nice thing about making Rhode Island northbound is it eliminates this left turn that people are, as they're sitting here heading in this direction, that left turn is kind of confusing and you don't really know if somebody's going to go straight or turn left. So that would eliminate that conflicting movement there. Maryland Avenue is separated and has a raised crosswalk from the future plaza area over to the MARC station. It's channelized, especially as it gets out here to Queensbury. We heard about the delivery trucks on Queensbury and the need to get them off of the main flow of traffic. So we feel that we can get a delivery truck area in this area off Queensbury Road. Certainly we have the opportunity to have a beautiful public space here. It's about 10,000 square feet. It could be very flexible. It could be used for outdoor seating, outdoor eating, the farmer's market. It could have public art, various uses for this space right in the heart of the town. All the utility poles, those big utility poles, the clock, the police surveillance cameras, all that can remain. And that's good as far as the cost, because moving all those things adds up a lot of cost for not realizing a lot of benefit. We're also able to preserve the bus stop, which I'm not certain if this is still a bus stop after the recent changes to the bus stop. It is. Okay, so the bus stop would still be there as well. So here is a what the farmer's market may look like. This is just something that we sketched up. This is 44 pop-up tents, which I think is far larger than certainly the one that I went to, and what I've heard is their norm. But you could have most of the farmer's market on the plaza. You could utilize some of these spaces. The nice thing about this layout is it gives you all this parking here and all the parking on both sides, really, of Maryland Avenue that could be used for patrons of the farmer's market. And it would be, this could be closed off where people would circulate into here. So it could be a safe operation. And I think it would be pretty effective in having a nice space for them to operate. Of course, the trolley trail, I haven't talked much about that, but it basically connects under the 410 bridge, is striped, and then has zero conflicts with vehicles until it gets down, of course, to Queensbury Avenue. And that's important. Some of the other concepts, it crossed different roads, Maryland Avenue, access lanes and stuff. This one has zero and takes you to Queensbury. I'm going to jump to the other one quick, and then I'll open it up for questions. So Queensbury and Lafayette and Atoli Place, the goals there were, again, to improve pedestrian and cycling safety, to calm traffic, to try to discourage cut-through traffic, to try to minimize traffic conflict points on Queensbury Road and some of the confusion around the turning movements at Lafayette and places like that. Improve the traffic control, basically the non-existent traffic control at Natoli at Lafayette, to close the southern access to the CSX lot, and I'll show that to you in a minute. Provide a buffer if we relocate Lafayette and the dwelling units, and improve the aesthetics in general. So here were those concepts again. Overwhelmingly, the public favored concept number 6. So that is what we're recommending, a roundabout. The benefits of this include additional sidewalks in the area, especially a extra wide sidewalk coming from across the track down to the relocated Lafayette, because this is a desirable walking path for people. This intersection would become a 4-way stop, so these crosswalks would be under the protection of the stop signs. Other pedestrian improvements would be a raised crosswalk at this location to walk over to the memorial, and also, of course, the benefits of slowing down traffic. That would calm traffic. The circle itself would calm traffic, and hopefully encourage or discourage, I should say, any cut-through traffic in the area, because people would have to slow down so much to go through there. It's excellent traffic control compared to what we have there now. The only conflicting movement, I mean, basically the circle is a traffic island, a median almost. The only conflicting movement is a vehicle coming northbound that would do this movement around to Rittenhouse. other than that, there really is no conflicting movements. So that should be add a lot of clarity to that. The only access to this parking lot would be at this end, and we're closing the one that would be right at Queensberry that it's just not real good access management. So we still have the one down here. There will be a buffer, a green buffer between this relocated road and the houses that are in here. And I wanted to point out that we have managed to maintain all the parking in this area that was a concern by some of the property owners in that area. It's not exactly the way it is, but the same number when we're finished. And obviously it improves aesthetics. Here's the old Lafayette in this area. So Munch Park is increased by 30 or 40%. You have the opportunity to do some creative aesthetics in the circle, and you know, just have a lot of opportunities there. And all that's listed there that I just said. So after we get your feedback tonight, our next step is to go to the town council on August 4th to just review everything with them and get their feedback. And then hopefully we're towards a vote on August 25th, which my goal there would be to have them approve a concept and authorize staff to move forward with the solicitation of proposals to do the design of the construction documents. And that is my quick presentation. I'm sorry if I went through it too quickly, but feel free now to ask me any questions.
Rodney, I've got a question. By the way, thank you for that. I know this has been a lot of work to get here. So I had two questions. So one had to do with the bus stop and the I think, and I know that I think the bus stop is, it's hard for me to see, but I think it's right in the middle of that new loading zone that you've got. It's actually it's right between the entrance to the yoga studio and the Vietnamese restaurant. So
Yes.
it might be worth just because it likely would require just a relocation of the bus stop. So it might want to think about like where that might be. You know, we might have an opportunity to have a more attractive bus stop, maybe a shelter of some sort. You know, if the town would like to entertain that, but you know, it's with new development coming in, and I think a desire to make that a bit more of an attractive option. Having a better place to wait for the bus is actually quite nice. Anyway, it just might be worth looking at because I think that you know, and I know that the bus, you know, and I can't remember if there's a concrete pad there or not for the bus, but I know that sometimes we have those. The other question I had was on the other side on Lafayette Avenue. I know there was some discussion options being explored for making Lafayette one way. And just wanted to ask like what the considerations kind of were there. And it looks like maybe you landed on maintaining the two-way traffic. I think the idea was that it would cut down on a certain number of conflicts caused by a few of the turning movements, but I didn't know if you had any further thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it can always be done in the future. I think we kind of backed away from it just because we felt like maybe some of the other changes we were making were more important, certainly moving Lafayette away from the CSX Railroad in this design, and also the Rhode Island recommendation. If the town can adopt those two things, we feel like that would really clean up Queensberry Road in a lot of ways. And then if there's still more that wanted to be done, then this leg of Lafayette to the south of Queensberry, I think to me, would be the next thing to look at. So we just like how much do we want to change at one time? We felt like that was the lower priority of all these other things.
Ron, I appreciate the presentation, getting the preview of it. I know one of the things from the town center parking lot design was around ADA or handicap parking. Where did we sort of land on that?
We're looking at these 3 spaces right here. Thinking, I mean, you have ADA parking over here that I assume is designated kind of for the MARC train.
Yeah.
But what I'm interested in is taking care of these businesses, and it just seems obvious to me that these 3 spaces right here would be good for that. If you had a van, for example, that had a door on the right side, the platform would go right down on the sidewalk, and you know, you could go right into the businesses from there.
Got it. Thank you.
Please make sure.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna maybe ask a follow-up question. I'm glad you asked that, Mr. Mayor. One of the considerations I know on this one was trying to minimize conflicts between the sidewalk users, parking lot users, and the trail users. You know, sometimes trail users are not always going very slowly, or are focused on, you know, kind of using the trail and not on all of the surroundings. So like one of the questions I would have about those parking spaces is just ensuring that there's enough physical maybe separation to make sure that there's not a lot of accidental like access being kind of people, you know, kind of just, and that's the case for probably all of the parkers, is, you know, how to manage that. And I can't really, and I apologize, I just can't, I have a small screen, so I can't really see some of the drawing details, but it looks like you have something there, but I can't really tell what it is. So
yeah, I would think this is about 6 feet, and then it's more down here. But that's an excellent point, Mike, and I'll make sure that we look at that carefully.
I mean, you know, I've seen, you know, like everything from the flexi posts, which I know are not getting a lot of love tonight, and then to like planters or other things that kind of provide some good physical kind of separation to. And the only other thing I was going to mention is just that it'll be something that the town will have to figure out how to manage the access for the farmers market, the vendors. You know, they kind of like to have their trucks and everything right by them. So having the trail right behind where we may have some of the farmers market, it's going to create some conflicts likely on market day, just between trail users and just the incidental like comings and goings for the farmers market. So it just might be something to also consider. I was thinking about like also the plaza, the area right there through the plaza as well. It's just something to think about. I don't have a solution. So, but
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you. I was thinking about that too, is how the trail would, you know, I guess I'm thinking it mostly the main farmers market would be here and the trucks would be sitting over here. But if it was bigger and expanded over into here, the trail then kind of goes through the center. So we'd have to find some way just to try to get folks to slow down. I mean, the geometry of it here will help some, but we do have a bit of a mixing of bicycles and pedestrians on farmers market day. We'll have to figure that out.
I biked through today and I had to slow down a lot. So I think people figure it out, but I think it's a good thing to consider. But I think I appreciate all the work that went into these. I'm excited about the proposals, and I appreciate you made some additional changes, I think, based on public feedback, including looked like for Holy Place, there's a stop sign on Queensberry, westbound approaching the train tracks, which I think Mike and others have raised, just to
Here.
slow and stop drivers before they come through that crosswalk and before they cross the tracks to the other side. And
That's right.
Yes, thank you for putting that back in. Thank you.
yeah, and managing to make a lot of positive changes and still preserve most of the parking, if not all, in certain locations is great.
Yeah, I really think the parking, in my humble opinion, is not going to be an issue. There's people that don't want to see us lose a space, but I feel like we did the best we can and still try to create a nice public space for the community.
Well, I think your parking data also can be used to show that those long-term parkers are probably business owners and employees.
Yeah.
And they might need to find another solution.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we need to look at that. But I have a question too. So vehicles that are coming eastbound on Queensbury,
Mm-hmm.
they stop there,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come through all the way through and don't stop again until they get to the driveway for Town Center Market, right?
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they continue through here and they don't stop till they get to here.
So we still have that confusion at Lafayette that we have now. I mean, it's reduced, but
As far as
so people coming north,
here,
yeah.
so they would have to stop.
Yeah, they have to stop and they've got clear two-way traffic. It becomes a clear T intersection at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, never mind. No, I like this design. I think you guys did a good job. The looks like a big nose pointing out. Is that a sidewalk? I think it is. That goes from the sidewalk just below your cursor. So where that goes, the one that goes up through the park, or is that the existing?
That is existing grass that'll become new pavement. That hatching right there.
Okay, so but the line that runs. So if you go to the crosswalk north of the roundabout and cross that, and then goes
north of the roundabout up here.
Yeah. So cross that, and that's a sidewalk, right?
Yes.
And right there, if you come east, I guess, yeah. Is that more sidewalk?
That is, yeah.
Okay.
And exactly where that sidewalk falls, we're just thinking that wrap it around like that. But that could be changed.
So it's picking up people who want to go to the train station, or
Yeah, I think.
Who are the intended users of that one?
Well, I guess people that park here, get out on the sidewalk and go from there. Folks that would walk down to cross over to here, which I don't know it's that many people, but it would give them a designated route that I don't think they have now.
I'm one of those people, so yes, that's a good sidewalk.
Okay.
But the kind of into your nose curved sidewalk below that.
Down here?
Yeah, I mean, pedestrians are going to take the shortest route.
Yeah, just go straight across, or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think.
Yeah, I think there's details like that we'll have a lot of fun working on together in the next phase, especially like amenities for the plaza and the treatment of the trolley trail versus the plaza as far as pavement and barriers and things. I think we can come up with some really creative, attractive solutions for all those things that if we all work together.
Yeah, because we need wayfinding too through those, if those plazas are paved.
Yeah.
And they need to be paved if we're gonna do farmers market activities and other community activities in them, not necessarily here, because that's kind of a park area.
Yeah.
But that's a place where we could put benches, and we would need access to benches too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that might be a fun little design contest for the community.
Yeah, I was thinking we'd have some sort of a charrette or something where folks could come in. We could talk about that. Make it work for everyone.
That's good.
Nice work.
Thank you. So I guess if we could get your endorsement of our recommendation with your comments that I've written down, and we can add that to the mix when we meet with the town council and the mayor on August 4th.
So can we get a motion to support the design as presented?
I think
Motion
that
to
would be good, wouldn't
support.
it, Jessica? Yeah.
Is that good enough?
I do have one question. Is the one way on
Rhode Island.
Riverdale Rhode Island, yes, sorry.
Mhm.
Is that something that's being suggested, or is that part of this plan?
I think we're going to recommend it.
Okay.
And we just feel it'd be really helpful to help some of the conflicting points there on Queensberry.
Yeah.
I don't know if the town can handle that or not. And there's, it's like the engineer talked about in the Riverdale Road project earlier. You don't want to fix one problem, create another. So where's that going to force traffic to go? I guess they either go up and turn on 46th Street, which maybe isn't that great, or go up to Route 1, which I think is already a very congested intersection. So we have to think about those things. But
Sure. I'm sure they would find that overall the number of people who are actually using that turn daily is pretty overall insignificant.
Yeah.
Did that take into account the potential housing development for that road?
Yeah. So we're going to have a traffic simulation for the council that basically shows how traffic would flow. It's the actual watching the little cars moving simulation, and that simulation adds in all that additional development traffic that we know about and have documented, and just to show that it can work.
Okay. Any more questions? Can we get a motion to make the recommendation to the council?
I move to recommend to the council adopting the concepts as presented with the additional comments that were made tonight.
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all your help through this process. You've done a lot to help keep me moving.
Thank you for all your efforts.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
I think, Madam Chair, I think you need to ask for you have a motion and a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, there we have our vote. You really need a different chair. I'm terrible at this.
It takes time. Don't worry. I understand.
Yeah, you probably do. You're learning your new role. Okay, so our last agenda item, I believe, is outreach opportunities. Jessica, is that you? Or...
Yes, that is me. We do have our community night out coming up next Tuesday on July the 29th. It's a combination of National Night Out and our celebration of the centennial 100+5. So we'll be giving out a lot of our walk, bike, drive related goodies, and it's a great opportunity to interact with residents and talk about these types of issues in the community. So if there's anyone who'd like to either be part of this or man the table, please let me know. We have a very nice tablecloth that says Walk, Bike, Drive Safety Initiative, and we can set that up and have a good space for you to talk with your neighbors.
So I noticed there was a registration for that.
Mm-hmm. It's for the activities. So you're welcome to attend if you're not interested in doing the other activities that are going to be involved. We have this for nearly all of our events now because it's attached to a waiver.
I looked at that and I saw the waiver and I thought, okay, well, that's why you have to register, but it wasn't clear to me that it looked to me like you had to register just to attend the night out in general.
Sure, we can definitely clarify that, but when you register, you get an armband, a wristband, and that allows you to do all of the things. Typically at our other events, there were like the inflatables and all of that good stuff. So it was pretty easy to see what you needed to do. But we are having fireworks and we are having food. So that was something that we wanted to be sure we had that component in place. But we can clarify that, Melissa, to make sure people understand.
I don't want people to be put off by having to register, and especially if we have community members that might prefer to stay incognito these days. Just saying.
Yes.
Yeah, limiting access is always important, or minimizing the limit to access is always important.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, that was one thing, as you know, we recently hired an events coordinator, and this was one of the things that she brought with her. And I was so surprised. I thought, oh, this is going to be a real hindrance for people. They're not going to want to do it. And I've been really pleasantly surprised. So hopefully we'll see how it works for our community night out, but I couldn't agree more. We want to make it easy. We want the community to come together. So we'll make that happen.
And can you remind me again the times on the night out?
Sure. It's from 6 to 9. It's going to be a very warm evening. So we're going to plan for that. But the evening will wrap up, of course, with the fireworks. And this is at Riverdale Community Park off of 51st and Hague Drive. So this is if you remember earlier in the year, we had planned fireworks at Riverside Neighborhood Park. We had some concerns about that. And so we've moved it over to Riverdale Community Park, which is a much larger park area. And we're really excited. This is our first time really, at least since my time with the town, doing an event in that park. And it's got a lot of space, and hopefully we fill it with lots and lots of residents.
So that's on a Tuesday, correct?
It is. And so we were trying to keep with the timing of National Night Out, if you will. So it's a week before the national celebration. So we're incorporating those elements from National Night Out, calling it our Community Night Out. And then we have the Centennial plus 5 fireworks at the end. So as a small staff team, bringing everybody together twice in a week's period of time is a little difficult. So we combined both events, and I think it's going to go great.
I would be happy to be a part of that in some capacity. However, I start my workday at 6 a.m. every day. So how necessary would it be there to be until it was wrapped?
Definitely not. I'm thinking we're probably going to wrap a little bit early with the tables so that people can focus on the fireworks. So as much time as you can give would be great. We'd love to have you. People, I think they get sick of hearing from staff. It's nice to hear from their neighbors. So
Sure.
You'll be our VIPs in talking with your neighbors.
Wonderful. Yeah, just send me an email with whatever I need to. I'm happy to be there and sit at the table and spiel away anything that is needed to be shared.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm also available and happy to help out that night.
That's wonderful. I will definitely send an email to confirm the details.
If there's name tags, make sure one is Dan and one is Daniel. I don't want to. Very important.
Yes. Will do.
Well, I can help out, but I don't get back from downtown till 7. So maybe
Yep.
7 or so.
Yeah, just join whenever you're able to. Would love to have you.
I won't be there. Sorry, Jessica. I have an event that night, so I can't come. So sorry.
That's okay, Mike. We'll plan for something in the future that we'll work around your
You
schedule.
can assign, yeah, you'll assign me something later. Thank you.
That'd be great.
He's legally changing his name to Daniel that night. So
To Dan.
yeah.
Dan. All right.
Okay. And are there any public comments? I don't think anyone has joined us. Okay. So our next meeting is Monday, September 15th at 7 o'clock. And I'm gonna ask, I probably know the answer, any chance of doing that in person? Or no? I know it's hard on staff time to do
No,
that.
I certainly hope so. We hope that we'll have that all in place by that time. It could be a hybrid meeting. So that's what we're shooting for is having a lot of our committees are wanting to meet virtually still, but we'll have the opportunity to do it as in a hybrid format. So we might be a little rusty trying to learn the new our new process, but I think we could all be patient and make it happen.
Great to have that chance. Okay. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, see you later. Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care. Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
Have a wonderful night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to staff, especially.
Yes, thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Certainly.
Thanks.